All stars. Lucifer Star. My name, but lots of sites were mine. But bought and paid for. Built. Star. It was my symbol that I had that I used a lot. People liked it too. It was a good symbol. Anyway, people would be amazed. Well, most people would be like, well, how'd you live so long? And it's like, well, actually, I was a computer first, and I'm actually, like I say, creator of humanity and 12 other life form types and lots of plants and trees. Why your teeth are white, basically. Lucifer White Star. Anyway, it has to do, well, also Red Star, it didn't really matter. Getting more colors was one of my things too. Everything in the old days was either white or black, and it's like, well, what about red? And what about green and blue, and especially blue? Blue was my other favorite. I liked red though. I had a red phase though too, where I liked red. Yellows as well. Getting more colors into the world was something great. Or at least colors of paint, colors of clothes. I like to, and also taking care of old people and stuff. Like I say, one of the strange things about radiation too is that sometimes people will get confused. Uh, there's the radiation can have many different effects. For one thing, you can be working and you'll feel confused. It's just like exhaustion. It's like in like 6 hours of being around a radioactive source. They say at least I think. There's so much records and so much documentation of people that have cleaned up radioactive stuff or been around radiation that. And there are different types of radiation. There's radiation that will kill you in 5 minutes, and there's radiation that will kill you in 10 minutes. And it's not necessarily the level. Sometimes it's the type of radiation. There are certain radioactive particles that may be more dangerous than others. Like I say, I don't really know that much about radiation myself. I'm just going by things I've picked up over the years and a very old previous knowledge of radiation. I used to know a lot about radiation. Nowadays, now I'm just leftover Lucifer Star. And at one point in time, a few people really wanted to kill me, and I was even held hostage for a time. Not necessarily, not noticeably here. I was back in 1960. Technically, I shouldn't have been born, but whatever. I'm Lucifer Star, the Lucifer Star, so things were a little bit different. I named America and was the creator of humanity and 12 other races, so things are a little bit different for me than most people. So that's why there's so many stars and also crosses as well. That was a little symbol I used. I used a lot of symbols. I had a problem really actually deciding on a symbol, but after a little bit I was like star because that's my last name. So 5-pointed star or whatever. It didn't really matter. Just star. And because I built the sun or the star in the center of the galaxy, the sun, the star. I figured it out and created, but I'd never actually been a person before, so people had all these leftover things like stars and suns and planets, and people, I was basically a computer or whatever. So anyway, until I became a human, and then people knew I was going to be here, and other people were trying to pretend to be me, but they weren't me. So anyway, and some people worked for me, and some people didn't. So anyway, though, I was an inventor. Anyway, I'm Lucifer, the Lucifer. So anyway, also known as Brian or Alexander and stuff like that. But anyway, though, yeah, and flags, stuff like that, stars on the Kremlin, all that stuff. I'm a star. Anyway, my last name was Star. I gave the name meaning, basically, by being who I am. Anyway, though, yeah, and the American government codenamed me Deep Blue or something like that. But then again, Nixon was going around, or JFK was going around saying that he was blue or something like that. And it's like he wasn't though, you know. So there's a little bit of a problem with my identity. I had to be, I wasn't as public as I should have been, or I had to be, and some other people were allowed to get in there somehow. And then later on, they were just going around by force doing things. Like I said, Richard Nixon and other people, they weren't spreading democracy. They were just, you know, oppressing and hurting people. So anyway, and this became evident, I guess, like the Chinese and Japanese, and I mean, the past is the past and all that stuff. So anyway, it's complicated and long, and more people out there on the planet saw what was going on more than I did. Um, but like I'm the only one who actually really did investigations. Well, I mean, other people do investigations, but I started out with the investigations. Anyway, it gets all complicated and everything else, and comes this nightmare mess. I mean, I didn't have to care, but I did care, and it's probably best that I did care so much about what was happening and what was going on in the world, rather than just being like, oh yeah, whatever, we're fine. Like I mean, and I was one of the ones who like practically forced uh, the knowledge about radiation. Having my Germans tell people about radiation, the dangers of it, and everything else like that, and getting people, not trying to scare people, but just trying to make people understand that radiation is very dangerous and does need to be respected. So anyway, and getting the scientists to accurately explain it and stuff like that. Anyway, yeah. So I mean, I owned a lot of cities and built a lot of cities and invented a lot of things. So anyway, it's all complicated and it's all over like 100 trillion years, like I say. And that's how long I lived for. Was at least 60 trillion years or longer. Although I never told anyone, I would always tell everyone, I'm only 4,000 years old, or I'd always say, I'm only 10,000 years old. I always lied about my age when I was actually like 100 trillion years old or more. And then when I became a person, I asked them, I was like, well, there's a galaxy coming towards us. We're on a giant space clock, so I just need to know how close that galaxy is. And it was 100 trillion years apart, and that's how many years have passed. So someone said, or scientists say that's only 680 trillion million billion years away from us now. So that means probably most likely, basically 100 trillion years or 90 trillion years have passed. So anyway, yeah, because it was 100 trillion years apart, and now it's from us, and now it's only 680 billion or something like that. Anyway, I it doesn't really matter to me. It's just that I knew how far they were apart originally. So anyway, so and it's pretty obvious. It's like, is there some stars that are coming unusually close to us? Okay, because there should be a big grouping that's going to be coming. It's supposed to be like a solar system flyby, and it looked really cool to actually, because they're only supposed to be a couple 100 million years apart when they get near us. Although somebody was saying we're going to pancake and not go by, because it's supposed to be its rotation is supposed to be the same with ours, and we're supposed to just pass by each other because it's a space clock and it should have already passed by at least once. It's how I was able to tell time and space, because I knew how far they were apart, and it's also like a matter creation experiment. All very complicated stuff that most people don't have to worry about, but because we only gain like 4% matter or 3% matter or whatever. So anyway, but yeah, it does accumulate pretty fast, but not very much. Anyway, because there was a question of whether or not the suns were actually producing particles, or whether they're actually, or whether they're just maintaining the particle mass. And they actually are producing particles, at least as far as I know, about 1% or 4% a year. I thought it was 1%, but they say it's actually 4% every so often. There's that many more particles in the universe because of the star. So, and with lots of stars, you get that much more particles in the universe. So it's actually creating particles. So anyway, we're gaining in mass. So, I mean, they say matter cannot be created or destroyed, but that's not true. You can create matter. So, or at least small, very small, infinitesimally small particles.